Hi, and welcome to this AI in C# video on the Microsoft Agent Framework. Today I'm going to show you a live sample of something I use myself internally, and that is how I use AI and RAG to balance my bank account. So the scenario is that I, of course, as a company, have an input in terms of I have a bank file from my operating account. And then I get some PDF receipts in terms of things I buy, services I have, internet, Azure bills, so on and so forth. And the bank comes in as CSV. Unfortunately, they don't have an API. So I just get some very, very raw data here with just a little bit of text about what it is, but in no way what have been purchased or anything. And in the same manner, when you get the various PDFs, of course, inside they say what they are, but they have very rough names like document.pdf, invoice, something that haven't any reference to anything else. So that's what we're dealing with in terms of input. And what I want as an output is that I want to be able to have that I know that these lines here means that this is the raw data, the date and the thing and the amount. But I want to have fixed what it is, what was it for the internet for Q1, and it's in a category called services. In the same manner, a last pass thing is a password service, it goes into service and so on. And I also want, based on these description and categorization, also have that the links are to the PDF receipts. And in the past, I did this manually, and I did it once a month, and it took 15 to 30 minutes every single time. So I thought, I'm a developer, I'm lazy, I know AI, I want to do something about this. So I did. And this is how the final solution looks like. Just for reference, it's a Blazor app, and we're not going to focus on the UI or anything, but what you can do is you can upload your bank file. It will process the data and will get this back to you. It will be able to put in company description if they're missing, and then put in the attachments as well. And when you highlight a row here, you can see the details of that PDF. But the flow of this, which I put in that I as a regular C#, there's some fake AI. I will get back to what fake AI is, and some real AI in this. So the first thing that happens is, of course, in terms of a flow, is we upload and read the bank file. That is just regular C# processing a file with a structured format. Then we go and read all the PDF content, all the unprocessed PDFs that have not been linked to anything yet. And then we convert those PDFs into content and invoice details, and we ingest them into PDF. I have separate details on each of these boxes, so this is just a high-level overview, and then we go into details much later. Then we do some fake AI, as I call it. It's some regex pattern matching. We'll get into that as well. And then I find, because I'm doing investments into other companies, I get some dividended sometimes, but I need to know who was it I got the dividend from, because it's not really shown in the bank statement in a human way, at least. And then we find the related PDFs, the main part of this, of course, in that we do some RAG search and AI validation to find the right document to fit. And if we don't already know, based on the regex pattern, what was purchased, AI will also try to determine that from the PDF documents. And then everything is ready for human confirmation, where I see the data and say, yeah, that's right, that's right, that's right. So it takes like 3 to 5 minutes, what took 15 to 30 minutes before. Let's first look at the RAG ingestion. So I do a invoice details agent. I'm using my agent framework toolkit, but you can use raw Microsoft Agent Framework if you wish to. I'm using a ChatGPT 5 Mini here because it's not a very difficult task for it. And then I go to each PDF and use something called PDF pick that goes through and read the raw data. And if the pages also have images, we can go in and check if it's a PNG image and actually extract the text from the image. Because sometimes I only have the receipt as an image or as the PDF also have data in like that. So we're simply just using a normal agent and say, extract the text from this image. If you can't extract anything, give back an empty response. This is kind of hit and miss, but luckily most of my PDFs are with raw text, so I don't need this too much. But it is possible to get extra data out like that. Beyond that, I just get the text from each page of the document, so I have the raw text. And then I tell it an agent to say, here's the raw text, all of it. It's very, very rough to look at when you see it. And I just say, clean up the text. So company that issued the invoice, the document, the products, and so on, is the only thing that gets back. And I use structured output in something called PDF details, which just have a, what is the date, what is the amount, what products are being purchased, who issued the invoice, and so on. And that comes back, and we just use our vector store. In this case, I'm using a SQLite that I save for each year. So I can go up and use text embedding 3 small and then observe the data. So I'll just have a ID, which is the PDF path, so I can remove them again if they don't exist anymore. The content will be the raw text. The amount will be set to the amount, the date, the month. I'm extracting the month based on the date. So it's easier because I upload once a month. I get the issuer and I get the file name. And all that goes into this part over here. And this result.toString takes all the other data and put it into an XML-like structure. So it's easier for the system to, so it's not the raw text, it's the actual representation of the PDF. And it all goes into this vector store record, and I just put them into the SQLite. So normal RAG, with the exception that I actually use a AI for each entry to clean it up. Because if I just put everything in, it would be much more difficult for a RAG search to actually get some good data back. Next up, I do some fake AI, meaning pattern matching. So what I do is I have some fixed suppliers of things, like, for example, my telephone, my salary system, and such things. And I know I buy things from Amazon, I buy things from Apple, I buy things from this and this and this company. I have a certain company that I always buy my IT equipment from, and so on. And yes, we have AI, but just because we have an AI hammer doesn't mean that every problem is a nail. This is just pattern matching. So if the text in my record says Telenor, which is my telephone supplier, then it's probably my telephone bill. If it's not, I can do some human control after the fact, but it tends to do the work. If it says this in the text, then I know it's salaries. If it say this and this and so on and so forth. So could I have told AI to do this? Yes, it would just have given a worse result and a slower process time. So don't forget that you can still do all the code we have done for the last 25 plus years. So here's just 2 of the rules I put in. I put in 26 in total in order to do my pattern matching. And I do my matching, very simple, by regex, nothing special, and turn them into some match rules that can give some match results back. And based on this, I now have some raw information. I've taken the little raw text I have, plus the date and the amount, and given it a company if it was found with regex, description, category, and so forth. And all of these, I know some of them don't need an attachment, others of them need an attachment. And also one of the rules is I have some these investments, and then I said I need to find the yield company match, meaning the dividend company from the system. We'll see that in 1 second. Based on this, actually, I would say it did, without the attachment part, it did 80% of all the work. So not a big deal to do this kind of code. It is C# as normal. But then we get to AI, because when I get these records, I just get some raw text that says dividends, and then some code. And that code is the code for the company. And it's just sitting in that text in the middle of something, nowhere. It doesn't tell me who it was I got dividend from. Was it from this investment or from this investment, and so on. So I just newed up and GPT-5.2, and I took that because it has the latest information. But I'm still using minimal reasoning effort. But I'm just telling it stock expert. And expert is a big word because it sometimes get these wrong. I could, of course, have just found an online service that can take these special IDs in the text. I will show them in 1 second, those here IDs, and found a service that could give it back. In the old days, before I had this, I Googled it, and then it came up. So this does a good enough job, and I don't have too many of these, so it's good enough for me now, but I can make it more advanced later on. And then I say, if my match needs dividend company match, I can simply go in and say, here's the small description of my system, and here is my bank text. And what company is this? And it used structured outpost just to give a company name back. And then I replace a keyword I had from the regex with the company. Nothing special. And this is how they look. So they look like this, and it's actually this US something here that shows that this means Walmart. This means Starbucks, and so on. And again, I could have taken this, put it into some service, but it might have cost money. This just works 80% of the time at least. So I'm okay with this. If it becomes too much of a hassle, I will enhance this. And this is the normal minimal viable product version of it. So far, it's good enough for me. Then we have the interesting part of the inward matching, which is the RAG search. So what we do is I take my record, which have a date and a month, just to get the month out, and an amount, and the raw text. The company we might have found from regex, the description we might have found now from dividend company and a category. And based on that, we go in and do a vector store search. So that is not just normal Microsoft extension vector data searches, where we go get the collection, meaning our SQLite. I take all this and put into as a query, and I ask for the 12 latest, because some of these look very much the same. It's not a problem if I do it every month, because then it's not an unprocessed phone bill. But the phone bills look so much the same that I'm actually taking up to 12 of them, because there's 12 of them in a year. But in reality, I don't think I would need that much, because I do it once a month. But just to be sure, I get the 12 best results, which will probably be the phone bills that are there. Then I have these results, and I turn them into a string, and then I say, what file of these search results is the best match for this record? So the new record I put in, what is the best match? Because if I just use similarity search and just took the first one, it will, from experience, I saw that it was not a good match, because similarity search is not the same as the AI intelligence. It's just which PDF have the most of the same things, like dates, months, and so on. So I go in and make an AI do the work among the 12 results that are the most fitting in terms of similarity search. Let's put in and find the real one. So I just have a document match, which is just the PDF name, the file name. And when I get the file name, I can just take the first result that fits with that file name, and that is now my attachment. From experience, I have seen that among, let's say, what was it, 90 PDFs, I've seen it make one or two mistakes based on how we do this. If I do it month by month. If I do it year by year as a test, there's more mistakes, because then it often mixes up the January phone bill versus the February phone bill and so on, despite there being dates and stuff. But it can do it, and when I do it month by month, I have seen like one or two mistakes so far. Then the final thing in terms of AI is we check what was purchased. So if we don't have a description yet, because the fake AI, the regex, didn't find anything, and we got a best match, we just take the content of the PDF, the extracted content, and ask an AI again what was purchased. And then I ask it, put it in what the product was, and put that in the description, and I give it in this structured output invoice result, I give it a among these categories, which is my default categories, are you allowed to choose from a category, meaning services, stocks, salaries, and so on. And when I do that, it just comes back. I think I need to tweak this message a little bit, in that it tends to be very verbose on what I purchased when I purchase multiple things instead of just IT equipment. But beyond that, it goes fine, and it gives me a description back. And that's everything. And while this is cool, while this is AI, but this is a way for you to be inspired on what you can also do, because this is quite easy in terms of AI at least. But remember that a lot of things happens just because of the AI. Because I think I had the AI ready in half a day, and then it took 5 more days to complete the solution. So I used 5% of my time to validate the input data, get the data right, reading the files and so on. Then I spent like 10% for the AI, meaning finding the dividend company, finding the matching and so on. I used 10% for RAG, which is probably a high number. But still I used it for ingesting the right way, giving the right format and so on. I used 5% on the regex, the fake AI. I used 20% on the architecture. I wanted to choose how should I do this so it works easy in the next year and so on. So I spent a lot of time on doing that, and then like half the time was the UI, the Blazor part. And in terms of lines of code, we can see that regular code, there's 800 lines of regular code. There's 400 lines of configuration, meaning these regex matches, and 200 lines of all code in here, meaning 14% is the AI code in this solution. So I'm not trying to dissuade you from making AI code here. I'm just giving a bit more of reality in real life, what actually going on, because data sourcing. And this is just a small internal thing. It reads directly from my disk drive instead of having it up in Azure and stuff. There's no deployment, there's no monitoring, there's no extra thing. But in real life, when you make an AI solution, first of all, there is the AI. You need to be good at it. That's the reason why you follow this series. But there's so much other thing you need to do. And this is just a reality check showing that in the end of this video, that there is so much everything else in AI. And we can't just throw AI at everything, because then we can replace the regex, because then we just get a worse solution. So making good solutions, making good AI solutions is still an engineering job. It's for the ones who are good at that as well. So just because you're good at prompting, just because you're good at AI, that's only like 10-15% of your solution. So that's not a surprise, hopefully, to you. But for those who don't know, remember that there's like 80% other things that also needs to be done in order to have a good AI solution. But that's everything for this one. See you in the next one.